Hi, this is AZ Tryman. This is my guide to getting paid to play poker in a 10-handed cash game. What we'll talk about here, some of the principles will apply to a 6-handed game. So if there are fewer than 10 players at your table, you'll need to adjust the requirements slightly. Let's talk about why I'm doing this. Poker sites pay me to refer them new players. In addition, I've been a successful poker player for 10 years now. I don't have as much time to play poker as I would like, and the hourly win rate in a game that I'm comfortable playing is not as much as I make during my day job. So, part of why I'm focusing this video on new poker players is because, in my opinion, once you get up to the upper levels of play, the games are substantially more difficult to beat. But at a lower level, they're easy to beat, or easier to beat if you just follow two basic principles: patience and discipline. Do you need experience? Absolutely not. You're going to get experience. That's the whole point of the patience and discipline angle. Most people don't have the patience and discipline to sit at these very, very low games, but the key is that that is going to give you the experience to be able to move up levels to eventually get paid. How many hands should you play? Think about this. At a 10-handed table, all you have to do is win one round of blinds every 10 hands, and you're going to break even. Now, if you break even, you're actually going to be making money because of the way that the poker rooms offer you bonuses and rakebacks and the like. In general, if you're playing about 15 to 17% of the hands, that's the right number. Here's the overall strategy. Very, very tight. Always look for a reason to fold your hand. Don't look for a reason to play the hand. If you look for a reason to play the hand, King Jack offsuit in early position is going to look like a great hand. If you're looking for a reason to fold, you're just not going to waste your time with a money-losing hand in first position over the long run like King Jack offsuit. Play aggressive, not reckless. Most people take aggressive to mean, and they see on high stakes poker or in World Series of Poker coverage, people firing bluffs on on the flop, on the turn, and on the river when they have nothing and they end up winning the hand. That's not what you want to do in a cash game, especially at these low limits. You want to play aggressive. It's okay to make a continuation bet occasionally, but again, look for a reason to fold. Number 3, ABC poker. What do I mean by that? That means you don't have to do anything fancy in these low-limit games all the way up to 50 cent, $1, and you don't have to do anything fancy. You don't have to pull off these great bluffs. You don't have to call with ace high on the river because you think somebody's bluffing. Those are just not high percentage plays. So you want to play basic poker. If you have good cards, bet them. If you have mediocre cards, check them. If you have poor cards, fold them. ABC poker. Strategy number 4, pay attention. You want to make notes. You want to be able to classify the other players at the table. Is this person tight, loose? Is this person in between? You want to be able to make general classifications. Now, you don't have to get it exactly right, but if you see something going on with one particular player where they make a really ridiculous play, you want to make note of that for later. Strategy number 5, keeping records. Keeping records is a total pain. It feels like a waste of time. How much money did I make in this particular session? How long did I sit in this particular session? Not only will keeping these records keep you focused, there's some studies done that show that people that keep a log of what they eat every day lose a lot more weight than those people that don't. Why? Because you might be tempted during the day to have a Kit Kat, but if you have to write that in your log at the end of the day, it's a way to keep yourself honest. The poker analogy to that is you're probably not going to play overly aggressive and lose an entire buy-in by making a loose call at the river if you know you're going to have to put this in your log. What are our starting cards? Early position, first 3 seats to act. You don't want to play hands up front. Why? Because you're going to be out of position the rest of the hand. So you want to play very, very little. You do want to play your aces, your kings, your queens, jacks, ace king, suited and offsuit, and ace queen suited. When you get those hands, raise 3.5 times the big blind. It's just very simple. If you don't have one of those hands, fold it. You got a pair of sevens up front, fold it. You got an ace jack suited, fold it. Now you could play those hands. They would be marginally profitable up front, but especially for the beginning players and especially at these low limits, they're not going to make you money. That's the big difference. Don't look at what you see on high stakes poker, suited connectors from up front and raising and playing these marginal hands in a fast way. Just don't do it. Stick to this strategy. We will make money. In middle position, which is after the first 3 seats to act, the next 3 seats, you're going to play almost nothing again. You're going to add your pair of tens and you're going to add ace queen. Now, hey, look, that might be overly tight. Can you play a pair of nines from there? Can you play ace jack suited? Again, you could. You probably would if you're playing in the World Series of Poker, or you're playing in a multi-table tournament, or you're playing against great players. You're going to need to expand your range a little bit. But playing in these low-limit games, you want to stay out of situations where you take ace-jack suited, raise 3.5 times the big blind, get 4 callers, the flop comes ace-queen 7, and somebody called you with queen 7, and you've got top pair and you lose a bunch of money. Okay, late position. We're going to call the button and the blinds late position pre-flop. We're going to add 9s, 8s, and 7s. Again, you could play more hands here. If you've got a lot of experience, if you're a great player, if you've proven that you can make money, you could play some more hands. But in these low-limit games, when you're playing 5 cent, 10 cent, 25 cent, 50 cents, you don't want to play tons of hands. You can play some suited connectors, so you can get a little bit looser than these requirements in certain situations. But what you want to do is you want to make sure you're profitable before expanding out from this range here. If you would simply follow this and never deviate from this strategy, you will be a profitable poker player. Let's look at our pre-flop decision. When I was talking about those starting hands, what I was talking about raising 3.5 times the big blind is in an unraised pot. If the first or second position player calls and you've got a limper or 2 in front of you, you need to restrict your requirements even further. It's called the gap concept. You must have a better hand to raise an already opened pot or to re-raise than you do to have to raise a pot that has not been opened. So what I mean is, if you've got ace-queen suited and somebody raises in first position, you're in middle position, let's say. Somebody raises under the gun. Do you want to re-raise with ace-queen suited? Absolutely not, because that's a marginal hand in middle position. But if the pot's already been raised, you could call there. Part of your objective is not to lose. You're going to miss the flop 2/3 of the time. So you got kings in middle position and somebody raises the pot up front. Yeah, let's hit him for a re-raise. But if you've got ace-queen, you don't want to be re-raising. 3 or more limpers is a good spot for small pairs and suited connectors from the button or the blinds. What you have to do is you have to have the discipline to be able to let go of that hand if it gets raised. Unless maybe you're sitting on the button, the big blind raises, 4 people call it, then you've got a chance to maybe close out the betting and see the rest of the hand from the button. Decision after the flop. Here's where things get a little more difficult. When the flop hits, you need to ask yourself the question, what's the best hand on the flop? What's the texture of the flop? Are there draws out? Are there 2 of the same suit? Are there 2 cards that are connected that could put a possible straight together? If there's a 9-8 together, you got to remember Jack 10. If there's a 9-8 on the flop, Jack 10's a very likely holding in an unraised pot pre-flop. So you got to be careful with what's out there when the texture deems it. Big pot hand, small pot hand. What does that mean? A small pot hand is going to be top pair. When you have top pair or maybe middle pair, your whole objective is to get to the showdown. Even with an overpair, your objective is to get to the showdown without putting all your chips in the middle. And the way to do that in a no-limit game is to make smaller bets, 1/3 of the pot bets, half the pot bets, rather than making very big bets. If you hit a set on the flop, then you want to start to bet 2/3 of the pot, the full pot. If you have a top pair or even an over pair, you're in a situation where you're either way ahead of the other player or way behind. If they've got a set, you're dead to rights against your top pair. Even if you've got an over pair, you're still dead to rights to that to a set. However, if you've got ace king and they've got ace jack, you're way ahead. Again, our whole objective here with a top pair type of a hand is to get to the showdown without having all of our chips in the middle. When you want to get all your chips in the middle is when you've got a set or better. When do you make a continuation bet? I make a continuation bet half the time. It depends on the player that I'm playing against, but I'm going to make a continuation bet about half the time. If you make a continuation bet after having missed the flop and it gets called, you're done with the hand unless you improve. When to call in a draw? Call in a draw when the pot odds suggest that you've got a profitable play. Okay, when we get to the turn, we're going to have to know what's been going on. We first want to ask what's the best possible hand that's out there. But what kind of action has there been? Has anyone been declaring any strength? Did somebody raise pre-flop? Did they call a big bet, or did they even bet out on the flop? Now, betting out on the flop is not as strong of an indication as calling a bet on the flop, right? Because, again, because of the gap concept, if people are putting money into the pot, you want to assume that people are going to bluff 10 to 15% of the time, and that's it. Assume people's bets mean what they say they mean. If somebody bets, that means they're telling you, I have a hand. Okay, on the river, this is just more ABC poker. If we think we've got the best hand, we want to make sure that we value bet it. If we've got a hidden straight, we want to make sure we're betting 2/3 of a pot to the full pot. Here's one other last observation. Typically, big bets made by opponents on the end mean what they say they mean. They do have a hand. Is playing tight exciting? No. But remember, why do people play poker? They play poker to play. Most people play way too many hands. They play 25% of the hands. If you do that, you will lose money without a doubt. You have to plug that leak of playing too many hands. Let me review one last weight loss story. Everybody knows how to lose weight. If people did nothing but drink water, eat vegetables, and exercise, is there any question that they would lose weight? Why don't people do that want to lose weight? Because it's boring to eat vegetables day after day, right? Who doesn't want to have a pizza or a cookie occasionally? But the key is, everybody knows how to do it. If you had the patience and discipline to do that, you would lose weight. Same goes with poker. If you have the patience and discipline to sit in a 2-cent, 4-cent game, realizing that your hourly win rate in that game is going to be less than $1 an hour, but if you have the patience to do that for 10 hours a week, over the course of time, you are going to build your bankroll up to the point where you can then take it to the next level. Most people play way above their bankrolls. Review what Chris Ferguson did. He went from $0 to $10,000 in 18 months. He started with nothing. He won his money in a free roll. It took him 6 months to get up to $100. Look, there's nothing mysterious about what Ferguson did. Virtually anybody that has the patience and the discipline can earn $10,000 in 18 months. I'm confident about that, but you got to follow these rules, and most importantly, you have to have the patience and discipline. Thanks for listening.